back to In Our Shoes, the podcast club here at the New York Film Academy. I'm Ella.
Dasha. Okay, I'm completely closed my mic. My name is Dasha. This is Ella, and I'm really happy to do this episode today. It's been a while since we did a shoot with a teacher, and we're finally bringing back someone who we were waiting for a long time. And I just really want to jump into it.
Let's just jump in.
Yeah.
Oh, links for donations down below. Instagram.
Our Instagram.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for supporting us.
Okay, so today we have a wonderful guest here.
Peter Marciano.
Hello. How are you?
Thank you so much. Great. Honestly, I'm very excited. I feel like I'm on something right now, just because it's a great opening.
Don't tell your teacher that.
I'm not.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you
Thank
here.
you for finally coming. It's been 2 semesters we were trying to find each other.
We're busy. We're busy people.
So I want to start actually why we didn't have a shoot in spring. And I remember you told me, let's do it in summer. Let's find a moment when it's summer. Because I assume there were some things going on that you were figuring out. If am I getting too personal?
You're going right in.
Yes.
You're going right in. I was working on a project in the spring into the summer. And there were multiple weekends where I was not around.
Okay.
I went to LA for, no one knows this. No one knows this at NIFA.
Now the whole world is watching.
I've been making a very clear path professionally at NIFA and professionally outside of NIFA. And so I was coaching a lot in the spring into early summer. And I went to LA 3 weekends in a row.
Okay.
Which was a lot of travel and a lot of on-plane stuff. But I was on set for a movie for those 3 weekends, which was really, really fun and really cool. It was my first time being hired directly from the production company.
Oh,
so
wow.
A lot of the times actors will hire a private coach or something. This actor is on the up and up. I'm not going to share their name, but they are becoming more, I don't want to say more famous. I want to say more in demand. And so they actually had it written in their contract that the production company brings me out.
Awesome.
Which is really great for them because it's not out of their pocket, because all actors, even when they go to the next level, they're still figuring out the finances and all of that. And this production company had the cash. So
cool.
I was working a lot, a lot. And then over the summer, I was in LA for 2 weeks and I directed Twelfth Night. I did some Shakespeare.
I'm just doing a scene from Twelfth Night. I love that play. Yes.
Yeah. Who are you playing?
It's fun.
Viola.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Of course I would.
Yeah.
It's fun.
What scene are you doing?
I'm doing a scene where she, Viola. She comes to Olivia to talk about how her lord loves Olivia.
Yes.
And Olivia falls in love with me. And I'm doing it with Mariana, with my classmate. And it's just so fun. And it's fun, but it's also vulnerable at the same time.
Yeah.
And a lot of breath work in Shakespeare that I was not aware of.
Yep.
And it's not about being performative in Shakespeare. Like I figured out that it's just you can be very simple with it.
Yes.
And let the words
language.
Yeah.
All about the language.
Yeah, and learning we have McCrea right now who's teaching Shakespeare for us. So much of it is like ending the last word of the sentence, make sure it goes out, and putting placement on verbs and adjectives rather than pronouns. Like it's not it's a little more technical in the language than I remember it ever being, and that makes it super understandable when you just go back to those techniques. It's really interesting.
Well, and then you'll get those so in your body that in a year, in 2 years, when you're doing Shakespeare professionally, you don't have to think about it so much. That'll just be in your body.
Cool.
You don't have to keep on telling yourself to breathe. You'll just breathe.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But recently I've been really aware of my breath. And I remember we did a scene with you. You coached a scene with us in the theater club.
Yes, yeah.
And you said breathe and connect, and since then, and I knew that before, and you taught us that before.
Yeah.
But like I need sometimes a reminder, and I guess since that scene that we did together, I've been really aware of how to connect with people in real life and in the scene.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's even since when I had you in class, I've been devoting a lot more class time, but also personal time and coaching time to just breath.
Yeah.
And what it can reveal. Last night I saw a show on Broadway and I was watching an actor breathe.
Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah, I saw Romeo and Juliet last night.
I
was just watching how they were all breathing with each other, and when they held their breath and when they let their mouth be open or closed, and it really showed how the actors were connecting. And I mean, we have 3 cameras here, but it felt like, oh, there's a person here, a person there, a person there. How do I connect with that? Oh, and you over here. And it was very cinematic in a way because it's in the round.
Yeah.
But seeing them be super aware of what's happening behind them without words, like talking to a person behind you without knowing exactly where they are, but you can feel their energy. And it was all about breath.
Oh my God. I heard a lot of positive things about the show.
Yeah.
And my generation, our generation loves that show as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's built for your generation.
Yes. I assume, because I saw some like bits and pieces.
It challenges my generation.
Okay.
In a great way, I think.
Okay.
I think it makes it way more accessible. And I mean, not to say I'm old, but in the audience, the majority of the people were college to high school,
Oh, wow.
I would say. Which is fantastic because this could be their first time seeing Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And although it might not be like what my generation or older will think of, it's not going in to see like the colors and the prim and proper. It's Shakespeare.
Cool.
It's made for today.
How's the script?
I mean, they make cuts, but that's super normal in Shakespeare in general. Not just Broadway Shakespeare, but all Shakespeare. I thought it was a really good cut.
Cool.
And they do a lot of double casting, which was great.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the cast is quite small. It's under 10 people.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So, I don't think I've ever seen a play of Shakespeare where one character played several characters.
Oh, this happened.
Oh no, we saw Macbeth.
In Macbeth?
We
Yeah,
did
a lot
see-
of the ensemble.
Hamlet and Hamlet. I was completely wrong.
The Macbeth that you saw
Macbeth
with
was
us
playing-
Undoing,
at school,
yeah.
The Undoing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, theater for they played
Yeah, they had
multiple.
some
Yeah.
double casting going on in the
Yeah,
ensemble.
scratch what I said.
Yeah.
Forget it.
And Hamlet too. Yeah, that was a cast of like 5.
Yeah, that
Where'd you see that?
David
David
Demke.
Demke.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
was
he
a
did
With
it.
Charlie.
Oh,
Yes!
Charlie was
Charlie.
fantastic.
Charlie
Yeah.
Thacker once.
Charlie's a
hopefully
teacher
he's
here.
Gonna be here as well. Yeah, he was great. He was great. I was.
He's my favorite.
Yeah, honestly,
I enjoyed watching him.
absolutely.
Well, with Twelfth Night is known to be a comedy.
Yeah.
Hamlet's a tragedy, and yet if you watched Charlie's performance, there's a lot of humor.
Hilarious.
Yes.
And then you also have Viola and Olivia's relationship, and it's funny, but it's also really sad.
Yeah.
It's extremely
And
sad.
watching their scene, I haven't read all of Twelfth Night. I actually don't know too much about Twelfth Night, but watching their scene, the amount of like comedic moments, and then your monologue that
Make
ends
Me a
in
Willow Cabin.
Yeah, Make Me a Willow Cabin gets like really serious for a second, and
Yeah.
then like your heart feels, and then it's back to being good and fun and silly again.
Yes.
Like it's nice to feel all of that balance. It
Yeah.
allows
Yeah.
all those moments to breathe.
Yeah. I want to actually go back a little bit to what you said, how you were coaching.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I was curious if you were doing a voice work with a person, acting, coaching, what it was.
So, for those of you listening, I'm finding the blend happening a lot more,
Cool.
where it's not, we're just going to work on resonators or your jaw tension or this or that. It's, how does your breath work, which is so often related to voice? How does it impact your acting? So I'm not really separating the two anymore.
I love that, because sometimes like when I'm going into a voice and speech or movement or like a class that's dedicated to like any physical element and versus acting, like the blend of both of those is sometimes really hard, and I feel myself getting locked even though I could have done the warm up beforehand, or I could have melded the two together.
Well, and there's an illusion, I think, in all performing arts schools or classes that movement is movement, voice is voice.
Yeah.
And actually, it's movement and acting, voice and acting. Every class that's performing arts based is acting class. Every class should be a movement class. Every class is a voice class.
I absolutely agree. And that's why I think we lack voice and speech. We want voice and speech to have every semester, all the time. And same with movement.
Yeah.
But I think we wouldn't have this if in our technique studies class or acting class, we would have that together.
Well, and then next semester you have advanced voice and movement.
For play production. Yes.
Which is fantastic. And I have taught it before, and Ben's taught it before, Ben Mel.
Ben Mel.
And Zoe Chen is also, and somebody else has. I just forgot. Sorry, whoever that is. But the beautiful part of that is that we get to combine all of those mediums of voice work, movement work, and acting work, and be like, oh, what is all of this? Diana directed a show last December called The Bookshop.
Yes. Bookstore.
Bookstore. I always do that. The bookstore. And I talked to the cast a lot about how do you talk in a bookstore? It's not the same thing as being in the streets of New York City.
Absolutely.
And so we actually went to the Strand and the Strand bookstore, which if you haven't, go to it. And they did all of their scenes in the bookstore.
In the bookstore.
Now
awesome.
I wasn't going around and like directing or anything. I was like, so this is just for you to know, like, how aware of you are the people around you who are working here, who are shoppers here. And it was really cool to see. Afterwards, we chatted about it, and they were like, there is a certain romanticism of a bookstore, and also it was a rom-com.
Oh, it was.
So like,
I cried.
Yeah. So to have that humor, but also like, we're not allowed to share this, but we're going to be really public about it, because bookstore is so private for so many people. But then you have to bring that onto the stage.
Yeah, and project to the back of the room.
And it has to be this. And it was great to see their bodies and voices change while they were in the bookstore, and then how they brought that to the stage.
Cool.
Yeah.
How did you choose? Because I know that you were an actor.
Yeah.
But you chose specifically teaching voice and speech.
Yes.
How and why?
So I went to grad school.
Yeah.
I got my master's degree from the Actors Studio Drama School, and we had 3 years of voice, twice a week for 3 years. And then we also had a classics, mostly a Shakespeare class, but a classics class, also taught by a voice teacher. And then our thesis year, we had a whole year to work on our thesis, was also coached by a voice coach.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I had voice like instilled in me, and it was the class that got me into my acting very, I don't want to say easily. I connected with my breath very quickly. And then after I graduated, and some of you might do this, I took a year off from all performing arts.
Wow.
Because 3 years of a grad program was so much work that I needed a break. And then after a year off, I said, why am I so miserable? Oh, wait, I'm not doing the performing arts. And so I had started doing voice work in order to get back into my acting. And I went back to my voice teacher from grad school, Susan Main, who is just an incredible teacher and helped me so much understand my own voice as a human, not as a like talking head. And she said, you should study with Kristen Linklater. So I studied with Kristen for 4 years, 5 years. I studied with her on and off, and then I got certified to teach from her. And I mean, Kristen was one of the best.
I would like to know more about her, because you mentioned her several times
in class. And like Linklater technique is something that we hear around a lot.
Yeah. Linklater voice technique is one of the big, I mean, it's taught at every at every major performing arts major BFA, BA, MFA program in the country, if not the world. And Kristen's from Scotland, was from Scotland, and she was an actor, went to school in England, and in the 60s came over, was then teaching voice in England, was brought over to Canada and the United States to coach, and then just like wildfire, her reputation spread as a voice coach. And Kristen was, by the time I met her, Kristen was in her 70s. And she's a badass. She was a badass. She was, I think I owe a lot of my behavior in the classroom to her. Okay. Her honesty, her humor, which sometimes people would miss. But I really understood her humor, and I loved to make Kristen laugh. She had a great laugh. And she was, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
No bullshit. Kristen didn't take bullshit.
Awesome.
She could tell right away. You both know that I'll be on the other side of a room coaching something, and I'm like, can you let your belly go? That I learned from Kristen.
Awesome. If you were to sum up like her technique and how she was in like a couple of sentences, that's so much, how would you?
Breath-based. Psychophysical. Human.
I would like to expand on psychophysical. So
yeah,
I'm very curious about that. Our classes were intense, Peter, and you know that, and the whole school knows that our specific classes were intense.
With me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I cried, and I'm not saying like the cry is the point of my following sentence, is the vulnerability that I was experiencing in their class.
The openness.
Yes, the openness, and it felt, I could never imagine that my voice and the way I talk and the way I breathe held so much of my backstory. Like, my whole personality is my sound.
Yeah.
And it was just fascinating to me, and fascinating to see how, because you did incorporate acting the way it should be, the way acting and voice go together. And our classes was very intense, and why I go to psychophysical, right? You said?
Physical.
So I want to know, I don't even know how to phrase it.
I don't know what your question is, but like, how do you find in somebody?
Cut off. I don't know what your question is, but mine's really good.
Fair though. I have to know what I'm about to say.
I might be able to help with your question. How do you find in an actor what part of their body might be attached to part of their system?
It's a great, thank you.
Like some people, yes, have a lot of tension in their belly. Some people, it's like in their like upper back and like shoulders, or like, how do you spot that in a person and relate that to their psyche?
Good, yeah. For the most part, Kristen passed away in 2020. And I was very lucky to have her and know her as a teacher, and as a friend. My last email to her was talking about something that I'll talk about in a moment. Okay. But she responded with, "It's wonderful that you're doing that with our work." And she wrote books on it, articles on it. She's talked to and worked with Tony winners, Academy Award winners, but it was our work. And so the way she taught me, she knew how to teach teachers. She hated doing it because it required so much involvement. But watching her coach me and watching her coach other people, you could see her breathing you in. And so she would do this thing of not imitate, not copy, but you could see her absorb, okay, their shoulders are doing this. Their belly is doing this. What could that be?
Oh, interesting.
She could see, I mean, one, I'll just say, the belly is, for most people, really hard to let go. And then we're in the arts world, so we're always taught, or we have media telling us, flat abs, six-pack.
Be skinny, be pretty.
Be skinny, be pretty, and we equate the two together.
Mm-hmm.
And to ask someone to release their belly is a very vulnerable thing for them to hear, and very scary for some teachers to say. So she said she was working with me once, and I was ugly crying, really ugly crying, snot. I was on the floor. I was like heavy breathing, and I knew she wanted me to say something. She wanted me to say what I was holding back. And it's training. This was teacher training. This was not her training. Yes, as an actor, but it was more intense because she was training you to teach her work, to spread Linklater a little bit. And she wouldn't let me not say it. And it was something, I'm not going to say it, but it was something from my private life and personal life that she knew I had to say a person's name. And I've gotten, that experience alone has let me absorb my students a little bit. If I'm asking a student to go to an open, vulnerable place, I have to be willing to go there.
Why is it important for us to explore our story? To like, why would it be important for you to, because it does seem like a therapy, right? And a lot of people
you can take it in that way.
Yes,
absolutely.
A lot of people mistakenly take this class as, oh, I'm going to the therapy, so it's about me as a human, which can be part of it.
Yes.
So I guess my point of what I'm trying to say is that how, and I'm asking it for people also, how your work as a human relates to your work as an actor, as a professional, right? Like how is your human exploration, your own exploration, helps you in acting?
Well, your body is always the thing on stage or on camera. Yeah. You can't leave your body. Yeah. So I mean that's this like the sound bite, if you will. Like you can't. You are always there. Yeah. When your mom goes to see you, or a parent or whoever or friend, and they go to see a show, they're not thinking, oh, she's playing a wonderful viola. Yeah. Your mom is thinking, look at Dasha on stage. You're never not that to those people. Yeah. And then for a certain extent, once you reach a certain level of fame, it's really hard to escape the fame, the celebrity. Absolutely. Sure. Not the goal. The goal is not to disappear. The goal is, in my opinion, to reveal.
Okay, let me stick with that. Okay.
So for the nerds, there are two great books. The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. something. Ooh.
Oh, we saw that in
it's a great book.
Body keeps.
But it's just how the body remembers everything. Yeah. And it's not from an artist, it's from a science point of view, but it's super user friendly, and I think it should be required reading for all artists. That's great. And then there's a book by is he a neurobiologist? I think so. This is, now we're getting into it. Getting to my like extracurricular reading, The Feeling of What Happens, by Antonio Damasio, who Kristen worked with, and would talk about the psychophysical with him, and the neurological of what does holding the breath do to the rest of the body. Yeah. Where do people keep feelings in their body? Yeah. I'm going to simplify it even more with your question of why is it important. I want to hear the person, not the voice.
And I think your class actually really taught me that. Like and And that's what I
Thank you.
said. My sound is my personality.
Yeah, it's you.
Yeah, it is
your
me.
voice is you.
And I think about like the characters that I play and like how I'm a conduit for this character to come through.
Yeah.
But like what parts of myself can I also allow to be shared with this character,
Yes.
sharing them? And like there was a monologue I did in your class where where I ended up having there was a lot of major moments for me in your class. But
It's not scary, I promise.
It's very releasing. It's not scary. It might be scary at first, I guess, but it feels good.
It might be good to say for some people that it's scary. So only people who really want to commit to this profession do it.
Yeah, being an artist is scary.
Yeah,
It is.
absolutely. You're sharing your soul.
Look at us.
But I
being so brave.
I ended up getting like I had done that monologue a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
First semester, and then I was doing it again. And like when it was a point of all of my time at NIFA where I wasn't thinking about the words that I was saying, and I wasn't like, I don't know, trying to get this tactic in and make sure that I'm putting this intention to it. But I do think that my work was some of my best technical work because I was being able to just like fully use everything that I have at my disposal.
Yeah.
And that was really nice.
And I think when anyone I'll speak to your class and to your group, that when we shared so much, there was so much trust in the room that people were willing to open up. And here's the main thing that has to happen. I'm not leaving you like just open or crying or yelling or whatever. No, you're feeling that, and then you're speaking text.
And then go.
Because you have to feel and speak at the same time.
Yeah.
At the same time, because we're taught often to feel, shut it down, then speak.
Yeah.
No, the actor actually has to feel it and speak at the same time.
Two things on that.
Yeah.
I recently had a one-on-one meeting with Ben Mel.
Yeah.
And I was doing a Shakespeare monologue, and I was doing a monologue from Measure for Measure, Isabel, her monologue, To Whom Should I Complain, after she's been told that she has to sell her body, give her body.
Yeah, to Angelo.
Angelo to protect
I played Angelo.
her brother. Really?
Yeah.
I did that scene when I was in Ukraine, and I played Isabel with that scene with Angelo I did, and that was very vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's why I chose that monologue.
Weird play.
Yes.
Happy ending.
Is it?
It's not a tragedy.
It's not. It's not, which is insane that it's a comedy. This play is a comedy, right?
Some people consider it a comedy. A lot of people consider it a romance. There's a subgenre.
Yes.
For Shakespeare.
But this scene is basically about her being assaulted and harassed, and Angelo, the character, says that I will let your brother leave only if I have your body, let's say. If you like.
And she's a nun in training.
Yes, that's important.
Yeah.
So,
anyway, continue.
Yeah. And I did a work with Ben, and there was an opening, and it's a very vulnerable and it's like a volcano. I explained it to Ben my character feels a volcano of emotions. You know, she explodes, and especially being a nun, there was a certain type of mannerism that a nun would have, right? Like I wouldn't breathe that much, I guess, and I would hold a lot of things in myself.
Sure.
And there is a moment when she explodes. So, and it's really hard for me. Okay, I don't want to say really hard, but I'm exploring how to connect with her from the beginning and how to show that she directs it, because Ben actually pointed out as well that every time I start this monologue, I have a lot of things going on in my head, and I'm there, you know, emotionally.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'm holding my words.
Yeah.
When I started the monologue. So instead of letting this whole feeling explode through my words, I'm holding it back, which is crazy, I guess, because when we are in shock in real life, I would assume, and I know that I do hold back.
Yeah.
But that's the point. I have to learn how to direct it and let go and let my voice and words speak for what I'm experiencing.
Yeah. Two things from that. One is, what if you asked your body how it was feeling and not just letting it be in your head.
Yeah.
Though your head is part of your body. When people say I need to get out of my head, well, that's a weird thing because your head's part of your body. So you should be in your head. But what if you also let it drop down to your belly? What if you let those things drop down to your breath? That's one.
Yeah.
But just like something that happened to me in the last few months. I was in a position of shock, real shock, which I have not experienced that level of. And my head was not off, but something happened where it wasn't blurred vision, it was soft focus. I could see the whole room. And I can really picture or remember my voice, my internal voice, having thoughts in my whole body.
Wow.
I remember having the feeling of, what the hell just happened? But I remember that thought not here.
Okay.
Because it was such a
absolutely
pure moment of a true emotion.
Yeah.
That it felt like, oh no, this is coming from my body. And it was stillness, and my body didn't move. Now we're getting a little artsy right now with this, but like, what if your body was the thing that spoke?
And there's another thing, imagery work.
Yeah.
Imagery work, especially in Shakespeare, how Petra said, Shakespeare lives here.
Yeah.
And with me, it's also a little bit different because English is not my first language.
Yeah.
And I have to connect. There is a monologue I also am working on currently with just teachers, and we did it in class. Three Sisters, Irina. And it's by Chekhov. It's in Russian. It was written in Russian, so I read it in Russian.
Yeah.
And when I'm doing this monologue in Russian, I have an extreme connection to her.
Yep.
And I couldn't do the same, not away, but like have the same connection with this monologue in English.
Yeah.
So I had to do imagery work. And now every time I'm working on Shakespeare, I'm realizing that it might be easier for me to translate. But it's not even about me translating it. I want to talk about imagery work, because in your class we did that as well. And it's just so crazy when I am connecting to something through my body. Like, that's insane. It's so... Because I'm the person who intellectualize a lot of things.
Yeah.
And like hearing you saying that I have to drop my thoughts into my body, like that, the thought of that is insane to me.
Yeah.
And I cannot even feel it right now.
It's making me feel power and like stillness. And I think that's something recently I've been really working on. But like when I was starting working on stillness, it was really stiff. It was very stiff stillness. And it was like focus on like tension.
Freezing.
And just like, freezing.
Freezing.
Which isn't stillness.
No.
Stillness, it's like when I let myself, it's almost like I can feel like my blood circulating.
Yeah.
And like from from my head, like everything just going all the way around, and it's almost like I can feel like a pulse out, and like I'm thinking about breath a lot right now even, but there's so much power in like letting the inside speak for itself. And I wanted to go back to sorry to get off this topic, but you were talking about how our class has a good amount of trust within that. And yes, absolutely, and I think we're so lucky to be working with that. But like for actors and artists that don't get the opportunity to have a good group, but also don't get the opportunity to really go to school and like have training for it.
Yeah.
How do you establish that level of trust when you're working professionally with people you've never met, but you just have to like go?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
That's a great question. I'm about to start working with someone on Zoom, which like, it's
so
Zoom.
hard.
However, this person contacted me, which one right away they want. If I've been really about, I mean, I've said this, if you don't want to be heard, then there's nothing there. You have to want to be heard. You have to want to express. You also, I'm going to take it out of the realm of acting and just all arts, directing, cinematography, if you don't want, what are we doing here? So this person contacted me, random text. Hi, Peter, I'm a friend of. Almost all of the people I work with come from references.
Yeah.
A friend of a friend, or
Networking.
a person a person who I've worked with. I mean, I am about to start working with someone else on a play that I haven't talked to or haven't worked with. I used to coach them 5 years ago. It's when they need something. This is a sad point, but a true point. Not the first generation, but one of the big generations of voice teachers right now are retiring and passing away. And so they are leaving students to find new teachers. But through community, I find people find me. And I'd also say, like, some people I meet with, we meet once and it's not that we don't get along. It's like, you're not looking for the same thing that I am. Not to say that I'm providing, that I'm not the right person for that. And I'm okay with that. Very much so. Otherwise, ego gets in the way. If I can assume I can do everything, then I'm in the wrong profession. Okay. As a coach. As an actor, I have to imagine I can do everything.
Sure. No, but I think it's important to realize when you and another person maybe just don't click or don't click for that moment.
Yeah.
Because like forcing yourself to be in like artistic relationships with people that you like are constantly butting your head up against a wall with, it's...
And then I guess actually back into your question about trust, when you're on set with someone and there is a person who is not giving you enough space to be vulnerable, I do believe that it's also okay. Because and you have to learn, and I guess these classes are important because even though, and I appreciate that you're pointing out that we were having a lot of trust in the class because we did talk about a lot of intimate, vulnerable stuff, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, they were, I guess, people, or there were other situations where I did feel like a person was not opened or was not willing. Yeah. And it teaches me also how to communicate and how to navigate then my feelings and my work in this type of thing, this type of situation. So I guess coming back to your question, being in school is very awesome for us right now to be in the environment with teachers like you, Peter, and like Ben and Mike and a lot of other teachers who allow us to explore, but there are always going to be people who are not into the way we are.
And also that's a safety thing for them. They might not be ready yet.
Exactly.
When Kristen had me on the floor weeping, she knew she could because we had a huge amount of trust, like a wild amount. And when I come up against, I don't want to say against, with a student or a client who's like, that's off limits, it is off limits. I'm not going to push them to go into something because that also opens up, well, if that's off limits, what's this other route?
Cool.
And that is very interesting.
It's like a puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a Lego.
Well, and I think of it as is it an estuary? Yeah, a river that splits off into many different.
Oh, cool.
There's the big river, and then there's all of these little options of
how to get
and
there.
it's not about choosing one; it's about letting one, allowing it.
What do you think about people who are, because a lot of, there is a common sense of you have to be uncomfortable as an artist, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about people who are uncomfortable in their comfort zone?
Wait.
Like what? Okay.
Wait.
So like,
I know what you mean. I think. Keep going.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's like people, I'm going to allow myself be uncomfortable. Look at me, I'm being uncomfortable.
I would even say I'm like that sometimes.
But you're still in your comfort zone.
I like to be uncomfortable. Like it makes me feel like I'm doing good work when I'm uncomfortable.
And here's the thing, but it's only, okay. There is people, imagine me saying, okay, yeah, Peter, you know what, push me. Let's talk about my backstory. And I'm uncomfortable. Yeah. But then you're like, ask me about my grandma. And I'm like, and I'm trying to go back from it. Yeah. So I'm saying like, you're uncomfortable.
Sorry, I'm just having a laugh of like, let's talk about your grandma. Okay, continue.
And like being uncomfortable only in something that I allow to be like uncomfortable. Like it's my ego. Like my ego says, okay, I'm gonna let only this thing to be explored, and I'm not gonna go further. So how do you think? What do you think about people who are doing acting specifically, who are like, who have a lot of boundaries, not because there is an actual, I don't know how to put it into words, and I'm sorry. My body feels it.
So I immediately just, not immediately, but I do it with every class, especially in an academic setting. I define what's unsafe and what's uncomfortable.
Okay.
Because those two things are quite different.
Okay, I agree.
And then if someone is like hesitant about something, I might say, is this an uncomfortable topic or an unsafe topic?
Yeah.
And I go from there.
So your situation with Kristen when you were on the floor crying is not like, it's different from having a panic attack from something. I could say that.
No.
No? Then how panic?
But did you feel safe going to an uncomfortable place?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how much the Linklater voice community wants me to share, but I mean, I don't know if it happened in your class. Kristen had to deal with panic attacks, and I had to watch her coach people down from them. And there's the reality, because a panic attack, in my experience, I'll talk from, because I've had them. I have had the notion of the world closing in on me and non-reality happening of like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And the truth is, I was in Scotland in a room with Kristen. That's when I was getting trained by her, and a group of teachers. I was wildly safe. But my brain, maybe my brain, but I'm going to go into the feeling of what happens. My body was like, this is not normal. What is happening? Because this is different.
Too much?
No. This is not what I am used to as a human. And so the reality is that there is a cup of coffee over there. The reality is that you two are across the, this little aisle from me on this couch in this room. The non-reality that my body was telling me is the world is ending. And I've had to coach people out of panic attacks. It's never the goal, ever, to trigger someone or to make them cry, ever. It happens with a certain amount of openness because people get vulnerable. I think, hold on, I'm finding the right estuary, the right path. Unsafe and uncomfortable. You have to just build the safety. It's part of my job to build the safety in a classroom. It's part of it. I think that's why I say, if I am asking you, if you choose a text, a monologue, a play, or whatever, I have to be willing to go there with you. I think that's a Kristen thing. I also think that that's my acting teacher, Elizabeth Kemp from grad school. One of my many, I had 3 incredible acting teachers in grad school, and they were all willing to go there with me.
That's wonderful.
Every time.
I feel the most able to go further when a teacher goes there with me.
Yeah.
Like, rather than like when a teacher's like sitting back and, I don't know, taking notes and then giving things, like when they're, I don't know, seem involved and engaged and like are feeling with me,
and I guarantee
fun work.
The feeling with you is actually they're also breathing with you. Guarantee it.
Cool.
But that might be so exhausting for a teacher. Like I remember you were saying.
Fuck yes, it is. Like, I go home and there was a day that I had you all. I know this. There was a day that I had you all, and something happened that I was like, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I went to Trader Joe's and I bought a fucking cake. And I ate that cake by myself.
I
a big
remember
one.
you saying that, and it just made me laugh so much. And
Yeah,
still makes
it
me
is
laugh.
a lot. Your teachers are, you're absorbing you have your energy. Your teachers are responsible and are with 12 people.
Yeah.
And some of them are hyper connected. Some of them don't want to be connected at all. Some people like you, some people don't like you, which I'm actually, I love when people don't like me because I don't love it.
I want to talk to about
because
that,
I think it's also that I bring up something in them.
Yeah.
But it is a lot to handle.
It is.
And some days I have, some days I go to Trader Joe's and buy a cake, and some days I do yoga, and some days I feel full
Yeah.
just by being in the room.
Yeah.
I feel artistically full in the best way.
Cool.
Whenever a few weeks ago, someone had a laughing fit in my class.
A laughing
fit. They just laughed for 7 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. 8 minutes. They couldn't stop laughing. And it was so joyful. And then it turned to tears. And they were like, I don't know why I'm crying. And they were like, what is it? And they were like, I just feel so relieved that I can feel joy right now. It had nothing to do with sadness.
Yeah, it really hits me. Yeah. And I feel like laughter is even more vulnerable. And I do believe that people have to adjust to laughter as much as they adjust to like crying.
Well, and you're using the same muscles.
Yeah.
They're the same muscles.
And I know, like, I don't remember if it was with you. I think it was someone else. We had an exercise where we had to just laugh. And I couldn't.
Ben
Mel, of course. I couldn't.
Ben.
I was so, Peter, if I was so comfortable in your class, not comfortable, I was uncomfortable, but like open and vulnerable and willing to, go there. With band class movement, it was really hard for me. I didn't want to come to classes, and it never happened to me with anyone else. Literally just with band. I mean, not with band, but like in movement class. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because band is great. And we had laughter exercise, and I couldn't.
And what's funny is I was so comfortable in Ben's class that felt like my bread and butter. And there was an exercise we were doing clowning. We were doing clown work, and I loved clowning. But like the final of it was you have like 10, 15 minutes where you're not allowed to talk, but you have to like entertain for
and
10
make
minutes.
People laugh.
And everybody was doing all these funny jokes, and I was like, I had gone the second class of doing it, and so I had all these ideas and thoughts, and I was so excited, and I went first, and for probably 5 minutes, I was like, and I started crying, and it was, oh my God, it was wild. It was a wildly uncomfortable, difficult experience.
Did people laugh?
I did.
Because that sounds hilarious.
Yeah.
It
I
does.
actually think you and Logan
You know what I
laughing.
mean? Someone going like this for
Because she was so frustrated.
I
Like
was so upset.
Yeah.
I was so
she was
frustrated.
mad and angry, like for literally 5 minutes. And I've never seen her like that because she's Ella, Everyone else, Ella is like
super comfortable with yourself.
It's fair, comfortable
in front of
doing
people.
what I need to, throw in whatever on the ground.
Yeah.
And
You were
being
saying a
looked
lot.
at.
You were saying a lot. Hello, that you don't feel embarrassed. Like
or if I do, I'm okay with feeling embarrassed in front of people.
yeah. And that was funny because it was so vulnerable and it was like so interesting. I've never seen you experience honest frustration because you couldn't like make people laugh.
So wasn't doing a good job of the exercise. Yeah, it's funny times. Peter, I'm curious.
Shift. Estuary. So stupid.
I like estuary. Okay, so Dasha and I are in a Singing for Actors class right now.
Yes.
It's been a revamped class, which it's the first class, I guess, in a little bit where we are focused on our voice, but it's very different from voice and speech. And it's also not like a learning how to sing class, it's Singing for Actors class. But I am now so very aware of like when I'm feeling tension in certain areas. But I don't know if I know how to properly expel that tension. Like when I'm singing, like I don't, stuck is the wrong word, but like there's like a pressure that I feel like in my lymph nodes. Like here. in my throat chakra.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that's more of like do I come back to voice and speech techniques to release that? Where do I go now with this avenue of using voice in a non?
She basically asked you to coach her right now.
So, controversial. So, camera. There is singing technique. There is a certain way to use your voice for singing. I have to, because what I'm going to say will probably piss off some singing teachers. Okay? There is singing technique because you have to do certain things to your voice. Now, usually, and I coach singers a lot. And also I teach in the, I mean, I'm the head of acting for musical theater at the school. So I'm coaching them all the time on stuff. And for their showcase, I'm coaching them. And out in the outside world, I coach singers often, but it's with the intention of going into the acting of the song. A lot of the time, for people who are maybe not as trained as singers, and something starts happening of pain or tension or this, I immediately go, well, what are you singing about? And then they'll have a moment of like, oh, right, I forgot what the song is about. A song is a monologue. So what do you want? What are you singing about? And once you start knowing what it's about.
Crazy. Thinking about that, immediately got tension here, thinking about where I feel tension in that song.
Yeah. So it's the whole thing of the belly or the jaw or whatever thing in my voice class of it. It's not about, or I'll say in the more positive light, it's about the thought more than anything. It's always about the thought. Bringing it back. What's the thought? It's the breath. The breath is the thought. So for a lot of singers, when they get tight, it's because they've lost their way. Newer singers, I would say. And also you have singers all the time that miss a note or break or this or that. And you can go online and watch them. And some of them are like, well, that was awful. Let me start over. I mean, there are professional singers who do it all the time. And then there are singers who have made it like, oh, that crack in their voice is actually what they're known for. Or, you know, what does it reveal by allowing yourself to go from a place of cracking and breaking in the voice?
Cool. Sorry to make that all about me for a moment.
Well,
I mean,
if you're experiencing it, that means that other people are.
Yeah.
Okay, another question that I have all the way back from talking about Romeo and Juliet and this breath and how people are aware of people behind them. Do you think there's a point where you get proficient enough and comfortable enough working with breath that you can like purposefully stop breathing to get a moment across, to allow yourself to feel tension?
Yeah.
Because I think, or at least I am in a place where it's like, always come back to breath and like openness.
Yeah.
But then you can get good enough to tighten and use that.
Yes, because people hold their breath.
Do that, yeah.
People hold their breath all the time.
It's funny that you have to learn how to breathe to come back to holding it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're playing a real person, if you're doing a biopic and the person has like jaw tension or belly tension, or I'll stick to like the jaw. There are people who speak like this. And if you're playing a real person who actually does this, you're going to have to do that. What does that mean? That before you get on camera and after you get on camera, you have to relax it. Because you don't want to bring your tension onto the camera. You want it to be, I mean, I've been really loving the word bothness of you and the person you're portraying, the bothness of it. Because you're always there, as I said earlier, but now you have these words that are not your own, that you have to make your own. Yeah, does that answer that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it does. Well, that's
Great.
funny. Like you have to. I like the massage before and after too. It's like an artificial tension. Like it's not like I, as the actor, am experiencing tension. It's like I am playing a character that's experiencing tension, using the bothness.
Yeah.
Of my body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
And I want to expand it. I want to expand it a little bit on dialect and accent because we have a lot of people at NIFA who are not from the US.
Yeah.
And whose English is second language, and people with different accents.
Yeah.
So I guess, how do you navigate learning an English accent? I know it's a very vague question and it's a very grand. Maybe should I ask on what a person should start focusing while working on an American accent?
The first thing that I do, this is why I love that you both and then multiple students have been asking for more voice and speech and more movement.
Yeah.
Because in 2 semesters, there's just not enough time.
Absolutely.
Especially that first year, first 2 semesters, to jump into accents would be unfair to the students, to the teacher as well. There's so much more to do before that. So here's the plug. That will lead me into this. I'm writing a book right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
On voice and speech and dialects.
Okay.
And the format of the book is more workbook. I'm writing it with one of my friends who taught me Shakespeare in grad school.
Okay.
He then became my really good friend, and we're co-writing a book together. We're on our last draft right now. I meet with him tomorrow. To like finish up one more chapter.
Wow.
We've been writing it for almost 4 years.
Congratulations.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Wow.
The whole format of the book is getting to know your own voice and your own vocal patterns as a jumping off point to then compare to others. So it has a lot in it. There's a written journal and a recorded journal. Where you have to record yourself speaking in many different circumstances and listen to your own voice. And with the attempt of without judgment, which takes practice.
Impossible.
No, it is not. But you are thinking about your pitch, your volume, your resonance, your rhythms of speech, your articulations of speech. How do I talk when I talk about something that I'm really passionate about? How do I talk when I talk about what I'm making for dinner tonight? Or my mom versus, the person on the subway that I say, "Excuse me, can I sit there?" So it's a lot of listening to your own voice and then using that of, okay, this is how I speak. Oh, I noticed that my rhythm is this. And then later on in the book, we talk about, we go into this thing called a donor voice. So I could say, Dasha, you're my donor voice. And I interview you and I get you talking a lot. And then I listen to mine and then I listen to yours. I'm like, oh, my rhythm is this. Dasha's is this. And just by starting it piece by piece and not being like, oh, dialect, accent, I say this way, she says it this way. No, what about if I just start with volume? Then go to rhythm, then go to this is arbitrary, depends on the person. Resonance, which is the feeling of sound, the physical feeling. Articulation. And then you have something to compare it to. Whereas 30 years ago in a voice and speech class, you were taught, in the United States especially, well, definitely in the US, a lot of actors were taught what is known as General American.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't know what a General American sounds like, because that's a very strange phrase.
I think about TV voice too, from like the 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
When that's not how people really sounded, but they were putting on that for.
And the studios, the film studios were having the actors take classes to sound like that. And there's the radio voice in London that was really popular, especially in, I want to say World War I, that all of a sudden radio and everybody's listening to these educated voices. So they copied those voices. So instead of using General American as the standard, what if you were your standard? You are your own standard.
And in voiceover class, we had a guest speaker. I don't remember I don't remember her name, unfortunately. But
Not the one to go to for that.
Yeah. But I asked her about my accent, and she said, "Don't actually ever worry about that, because right now a lot of people are looking for someone who has a world accent.
Yep.
Like I cannot say that you're definitely not from the U.S. You're not from England." But also, I don't know where you're from.
Yeah.
So that makes it interesting. That makes me listen to you. But also there are a lot of other people who said, maybe you should have an American accent to know how to do it. But if I knew how to do it, I would talk an American accent. Like, I don't know, it feels weird. Then I feel like I would never know how to come back to what I have now.
Yeah. It's the idea of it takes practice of, I love that teacher said that, or that guest, that was a guest speaker, because what they are telling you is, I'm going to link it back to one of the first things you said. If you get rid of your accent, you're also erasing part of who you are.
Yes, and that's what I've been thinking about recently a lot.
Now, then they'll bring it back to Ella and I talked about like the bothness of it.
Yeah.
And you already also talked about it. What's it like to speak Chekhov in Russian versus English? There's a disconnect, or there can be. But the work you did with Chekhov of like doing the imagery work in Russian and then in English and then bringing it over, you're translating it, and eventually the translation will happen faster and faster and faster. So I don't think people really get that when someone comes to me and says, I want to sound like an American, that a lot of them don't realize what they're asking. It usually is someone told them, and it has something to do with erasure. And then also the idea of when someone says, I want to learn an American accent, well, Brazilian is American accent. Canadian English, excuse me, is American accent. There are many types. I mean, you have at this school Spanish speaking, but from how many countries?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Those are all American accents.
You're right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My
work here is done.
I like this idea of getting to know your own voice and your own vocal patterns. I was thinking about this recently because of ChatGPT AI. Yeah, but it has like a new vocal thing.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to it with a very specific vocal pattern to see if it picks up on that and like repeats to me what I'm doing, or like if it's coming from a basis. That doesn't like have any point to go, but like but it's
what was the result?
interesting. I don't know. I was doing like very long ums and pauses, and it started to have longer ums and pauses, and it freaked me out. It did freak me out a little bit. Yeah, crazy stuff.
Your book, I want to know when it's coming out so I can have it.
The hope is that we are done with the final draft by holiday break, winter break.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh, soon.
Because Lewis is also a teacher. Lewis teaches at USC, which is where I went for a semester right before you, maybe? When did I have you?
Second semester,
last
summer.
Last summer.
Yeah, I remember you talking about USC a little bit.
So the fall before, I taught at USC. I took a semester off from New York NIFA, and I actually taught a class in LA at NIFA's campus there, and then I was full-time at USC in the grad program. And so Lewis and I then swapped, and he's there full-time and I'm here full-time. But so we both have winter break, And we're both like, no, it has to be done so we can enjoy winter break.
Yeah.
Because writing a book is really hard.
4 years.
4 years, and it's doing something that we think is original and hasn't been done.
Okay. It sounds like that.
Original and hasn't been done is very repetitive, but I mean, it feels really special writing it. And so getting it off to an editor and a publisher to look at formatting, because it's going to have a certain look on the page as well. There are drawings, there's interactive stuff. It's workbook, but then there's also explanations and little mini essays. The goal is, I would like, Lewis would like as well, is June.
Okay.
Wow.
Because then it could be available for schools for the fall.
Oh, smart.
Yeah. I'm
there's
very
timing.
excited. And also I'm graduating that summer, next summer. So
we'll have
after I graduate, I will still have something to learn from.
Well, and I'm also already using I'm already using exercises from the book in all of my classes now. Now.
Yeah.
I probably would. No, I had already started writing it when I had you. I was using them. Now it's it's way more organized. So there's a full through line of, oh, this is where we start in the book, this is where we end. So when I'm working with students, I know myself what to do a little bit more of.
Yeah.
I'm still experimenting and being like, oh, I tried this today, but we have to change that in the book because that's not in the right order.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very exciting. It's very difficult writing a book.
I would love to read it, Peter.
So this is the thing that I emailed Kristen to let her know that Lewis and I were writing a book.
Okay.
And that I'm bringing it back to that.
Yeah.
And so her last words were, I'm so excited for what you're doing with our work. Yeah.
I think that's great. And I always wanted to be a teacher. I never knew what I want to teach. Since I was a child, I think I have this thing in me. I give advice to everyone because I think I know how they should live, But like now,
You?
Yeah.
In the best way.
Yes, but now it's coming from the point of, well, it was coming from an egotistical point of view that I'm better, and I know everything. But now I'm coming to terms that I do want to teach, and because I really want to help people be better, because it makes me better. And yesterday we had a conversation with Brittany, our
the
chair. Yes.
Yeah.
And she said, "Why are you doing acting?" And I said, "Because I truly believe it makes me a better person, and I truly believe I will never. I don't think it ever happen that I break the connection between me and acting. And I think that teaching is one of the great fields of this industry, and I would love someday to also pass this to other people."
It's very gratifying to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Do you have a story with like one of the first times you were able to like nurture somebody and like, I don't know, that you felt that you changed an actor for the better?
Oh, God.
Us. Thank you.
I don't know about a first time. I'll talk about a student.
Oh, great.
Not by name.
Let's call him Jalen.
That would be hilarious. Hi, Jalen. No. I knew that a student was bringing in a certain amount of energy into the classroom that other people were not. Safe, yes. Uncomfortable, no. Or uncomfortable, yes. And safe, yes. Both of those yeses.
Safe, no.
Safe, no. Safe, yes, I promise. Athletic in build. So usually that says, oh, what tension. Not always, but like this person worked out. So, asking their permission to put my hand on their belly, really had to coach them on releasing muscular tension. And they were saying their monologue, and It wasn't going anywhere. And then I brought in resonator work, finding, now some people will say placing your voice. I never use that phrase, but like using different areas of the of voice, or rather allowing your voice to go to different places. And so I just suggested that this person, I didn't want the other students in the room to hear, so it might have been super quiet in their ear. But I do recall saying, can you say this like you are 6 or 7 years old? And they started doing something. And it was not I'm going to tell myself to breathe. Oh, I said, can you, well, speaking of breath, I asked them to breathe. Can you remember how you breathed when you were 6 or 7? When you're 6 or 7, puberty hasn't happened. You haven't been told, not everyone at least, there are certain things that you're still allowed to do and feel. And when you're tired, you can still cry and be put to bed by mommy and daddy. And there's a certain amount of freedom in childhood. For some. For this student, yes. I suggested 6 or 7. Can you breathe like what you are? Can you imagine what you looked like then? And then can you let that live in your belly? And his voice went up to a very open, of course it was a little higher, but it wasn't about the pitch. It was just something in the face and the cheeks that opened, that revealed. And he was speaking a monologue about loving someone. And he started to cry, and it was not a blubbering cry. I don't even think it was a sad cry. It was, I'm so present, and I'm this little boy right now. And it's the idea that he never actually lost that little boy, that it's always there, it's in your breath. And afterwards, or maybe not even afterwards, during, or towards like the shifting of how was that, his voice still there was, I don't know what just happened, or the wow of it all. And it's just a suggestion. It's just me suggesting.
How is that for you as a teacher when you, I don't want to use the word help. That feels weird, but like.
Yeah. Well, it's about getting ego out of the way.
Yeah.
So many students will say, thank you for doing this. And I'm like, you did it. I just suggested you were 6. You did the rest.
So beautiful.
And I mean, ego is a huge part of the industry, and I think people fight it all the time. But in that moment, I could see that the ego that student had was also melting away. Yeah, that was a really lovely moment, and that wasn't actually that long ago.
I think I'm realizing that I am. I was in classes very vulnerable and open, and I was connecting to everything, and I was crying a lot because I was feeling so much. But I never had to work with you on my own story. And my comment earlier, like, what do you think about people who are uncomfortable in their comfort zone? I do believe it's about me.
Yeah.
I do believe I talked to Ella like very recently about that. I'm not sharing a lot with people, and not because it's their fault, because I'm truly, I don't know how. And I think I'm still, and there is a reason why I want to do voice and speech, and there is a reason why I want to continue learning acting, studying acting after BFA as well.
Yeah.
Is because I do believe there is much more that I need to figure out to be a good actor and to do great work. and I can't wait when I feel, brave enough to share something.
Acting work is human work.
Yes.
That's why.
Yes. Yeah.
Breath.
Mm-hmm. That was a wonderful podcast.
I want to share one of my favorite things you've ever said as, like, I guess, a little bit of a closer. It might have been a euphemism.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
But I
sorry in advance. Oh no.
I don't know if you know what I'm about to say. I don't think you do.
No clue. I don't remember half the shit I say.
If you cry from true sadness, laugh from true joy, yell from true anger, and orgasm all within one day, you may not need much voice work. I love that.
Thank you and good night. That is a Kristen quote.
Awesome.
I'm just gonna say that. She said if you can do all of those things in one day, every day, your voice is free. My new version of that is I believe that joy can be found in every emotion.
Mm-hmm. Because it's about religion, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
But the idea, of course.
Yeah.
But I said that recently, and I had to repeat, like, joy can be found in every emotion. And for those people, including myself, that have experienced any level of trauma, that's a really hard sentence to consume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't want to finish.
I know.
But
I don't
also
want to stop.
feel like
I feel the time.
yeah. Thank you so much for coming.
Of course,
for
thank you.
This. You've been a really important teacher in my life, and I really appreciate you having here.
I'm so happy that you invited me.
Yeah.
I am, both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're great, Peter. And you've taught me a lot about who I am as a student, as someone who's learning. And also, like, you're I don't have words. You're great. And you can never be told how great you are. And I think the world should get to know how you work.
Thank you.
And again, ego, of course, and we should probably, I don't know, but I think it's also important to hear that from students. And I want to
Thank you.
Your scene.
We miss you.
Thank you.
And appreciate it.
I miss you too.
Yeah.
I miss you too.
I hope we have to work together again next semester on play production.
Maybe play production, and then I'm also teaching upper school electives in the LAS class.
Of adaptation.
I'm not saying anything.
Because if you do, I chose issues of adaptation, and if you do,
and if it's not
great
that one,
playwright,
then I'm gonna choose that one.
I'm not saying a thing because I'm not allowed to. I don't think, but I have no idea.
Oh, I hope you, because I chose it because you wanted.
Or I'm gonna say it off camera.
Okay, hopefully, because I'm gonna stress. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It was a great conversation. You will find more information about
Check out Peter's book in a year, guys.
Yeah, keep being posted. I don't know how to say it. Keep being posted.
Oh,
no,
stay posted.
Stay posted.
Yeah.
I'm in a process of learning. So thank you so much.
We do a clap at the end all together.
Do you want to clap with us?
Yeah. How do you do it? Just what do you do?
Like 2 hands together.
Oh. Show me. No, I just meant like a fast one or like a boom boom.
Oh, just a one, just a single clap.
And we have to do it all together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's breathe together instead of counting down because we can. Yeah, let's work.